Hello, welcome to your Week 1 and Week 2 recap for REL Div 4 through 6. Apologies for the lateness of Week 1. We've had some technical difficulties. My regular broadcasting partner, Ledeas, is still having computer problems, and I've been busy and having trouble finding folks to join me in these recap videos so that it's not just me talking to myself. But today I am joined by my guest host, NinjaPirateAssassin.
Greetings.
How's it going?
Not too bad.
Alright, before we start things off, I'd like to stop and have a little moment just to remember all the folks in Divs 4 through 6 of the REL who gave their all on the pitch during Week 1. So let's roll that clip just in one moment. And we're back. Man, really breathe a tear to your eye. I think the death from the failed GFI is always really the toughest to deal with, man. That's always rough. It's like, just couldn't you not have rolled a 1 and then broken armor and then a casualty and then a death? That's just hard to swallow. At least it was just a lineman. But those were the folks who died in Week 1, and we'll get to the folks who died in Week 2 at the end of the video. But let's take a look at what we've got, starting with Season 5, Div 6. You still with me?
Yep.
Cool. So just take a look at the leaderboard. There's not a whole lot to look for these divs. They've all, as we said with the last video, these are all new teams. Some of them have taken advantage of the preseason spin games, but it's not a whole lot of development on most of these teams. Still anyone's game in terms of the standings at the end of the season. But for right now, we're just going to take a look at who's sitting pretty on the top. So Div 6 is pretty well divided. There's a couple of people who are undefeated. Four teams at this point with 2 0-0s, which is a pretty wide divide compared to some of the other divisions we're going to look at later. But let's take a look. The wooden stand-ins. The elf team currently sitting at number 1. Yeah, basic development for a wood elf team.
I was gonna say, nothing jumps out. Pretty standard first level ups if you didn't luck out and roll a stat up or anything.
Yeah, we got strip ball, we got sidestep, we got kick. Looks like nobody dead. 2 casualties sustained, but I'm guessing they weren't permanent. Yeah, that could go anywhere. Who's next? Berserkers, number 2, coach owned. also undefeated. Taking a little bit of a hit here. Looks like the TV. Oh, they've got two injured players for the next match. One is just missed next game, but one has taken an armor bust. Got a blitzer with a skill yet to roll. They were up against elves, and prior to that, up against some lizard men.
You know, as much as I want to feel bad for this coach, as someone who had to open their season with back-to-back dwarves, I don't feel even a little bit bad about this.
No, they're so strong
I'm
right
impressed.
at the start.
I am impressed he managed a 2-0 with this beat up of a team. Although I do think Hermes is an immediate fire with an armor bust. I don't see why you would keep him over a loner Longbeard at this point.
Yeah, especially when your loners come with block and tackle and 6 skull. There's no reason to keep that armor 8.
Yep. Now run the loner. If the loner happens to get MVP, hire him instead of hiring a random.
You can do that. I have that problem though, is that even when I'm planning on, like, I run lizards, even when I'm planning on buying a skink, this actually just happened game before last. I got the MVP on the loner, and I would have bought him, except that Cyanide doesn't let you change the names. And there's obviously a naming scheme going on here, so that Coach owned here may have the same problem that I do with it. You break the naming scheme and it just cuts to the heart of what makes the team. So
yeah, I can totally see that. I mean, I'm a person who runs rats, so I don't buy loners because I don't care about line rats with skill points.
Right, yeah, you want them not to have the skill points, really. It's just a waste of TV. But in either case, yeah, dwarves are meant to be hardy, armor 9, 6 skull beasts who don't leave the pitch for any reason. So having an armor bust on one, especially one with no SPP, no skills, yeah, no reason to keep that guy around. But yeah, 2-0 against, let's see, oh yeah, lizards and elves. The next on the leaderboard, Brothers Superfed TV. Let's see, 1200 TV, so he's gotten some development. I've got a Blodge Blitzer. He's got Sidestep on a Goblin. He's got a total 12 players. But he's got all his staff set up. Just, 2 wins. Let's see, against 3-1 against Barl. Oh, he's gotten 3 touchdowns both games here. Once against North and the Ballroom Barbarians, also North, I think. Let's see.
Yes, also Norse.
Well, there you go. That's when you get 2 bashy teams throw up against each other, the one that has armor 9 is likely to have a little bit of advantage of the one against armor 7. And it looks like that the Ballroom Barbarians may have come out a little worse for wear here. Just missed next game, but 2 of their players casualties missing the next game, an Elf Warner and a lineman. So I can imagine that game, by the end of it, they were probably missing a couple of players. And then the other undefeated team so far for the season is the Purple Pretty Princesses, coached by Crumsley. Let's take a look at them. Purple Pretty Princesses, fairly standard Nurgle team. So here with the Beast, the 1 Pestigore, the four warriors. He's got block on the Pestigore. I think we saw that in the last video. There's a Rodder's got a movement bust. Yeah, so that's not the worst thing in the world for a Rodder. I guess he's saving up for either a Pestigore or another reroll. I'm not sure which comes first. I'm not an expert in Nurgle team development, whether you want to go for the 3 rerolls as soon as you can. I guess if he was going to buy the Pestigore, he could buy it now. They're 80k to start with, so. But yeah, so let's see. He was up against Snuvgard, who I believe is a rookie Chaos team, and then Mean, Lean, and Neon Green, which I think is a Necro team. Let's see.
Yeah,
Yes.
a couple of 1-0 victories here. Pretty standard for early Nurgle. Not
Yeah.
going to score a lot of touchdowns on those guys.
Yeah. This Mean Lean and Neon Green though is looking a little bit formidable. Well, guard on both of the whites. I guess that makes sense on. I haven't actually played Necro on. I guess Necro you sort of make your werewolves more your killers, and your white are sort of the support strength pieces. But I usually would think with whites you'd go at least one of these guys with Mighty Blow first, especially because unlike with undead, your big-ish guys, your flesh golems, don't start with Mighty Blow. But he's got some development here. He's got Blodge Ghoul. He's got 2 guard pieces. How is this team doing? Looks like 1-0 for the season, unless one of those was a spit match. Yeah, they're actually the next on the list. So, yeah. So I think that's. I don't want to make another hour and 45-minute long video like the last one was. So I think unless there's any teams you want to call out, I think we can move ahead on to Div 5.
Yep, let's do it.
Cool. So Div 5, as I was saying, a lot closer than Div 6. We've got only 2 undefeated, and then a lot of 1-1-0s, a lot of 0-1-1s, a couple in between there. So the undefeated so far for the season, we got High Elves not FDA approved, who I believe lost a Line Elf this week. But they've got that Ag 5 catcher, certainly gonna help them, and Blodge on the 2 blitzers. Fairly standard looking high elf team. Except for the agility bonus for the catcher, certainly going to help. What were they up against here? North and looks like Dark Elves. So yeah, that could, if they keep that streak going, that's certainly going to pay them to do well for them. Let's see. Next, drinking is a skill. Dwarves in the number 2 spot again. Drinking is a skill. Both of these dwarf teams with the drinking motif, I can't say I disagree. Yeah, that runner with I don't think he had strength 4 last time I looked, but that's a little frightening. Anytime you can get a ball carrier with strength 4, that is a pain in the ass to get rid of.
Yep, I would definitely say if I was in this div, there are a couple of players that you need to target now before they get the skills to become a real problem.
Yeah, he gets.
If you can get a game where you can remove Quackadilly Blip, and that's it. I don't care if you lose that game 6-0. You will be lauded, sir. I will come back and I will laud you personally.
Yeah, that would be a service to the rest of the division, I'm sure. Yeah, before that runner gets, he's only two SPP away as well from getting that much harder to take down.
That's dirty.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a scary looking ball carrier. It's got a little bit of, yeah, it's just sort of standard. We got some guards, some Mighty Blow on the Troll Slayer. Who was he up against? First 2 league matches, he split Lizards. Starting Lizard versus starting Dwarves. That's as a Lizard player, I always am terrified of playing rookie Dwarves versus rookie Lizards just because of all that tackle. And the fact that they just they're not bothered to mark your Saurus. Some teams are like, I feel like, so the ultimate Lizard, anti-Lizard, and I shouldn't be saying this as a Lizard coach, I shouldn't really be spreading this around, but the secret to playing against Lizards, 4 words: mark Saurus, hit Skigs. And there's some teams for which that first half, Mark the Saurus, is a real liability. If you're a Norse team or any other AV7 team, marking that Saurus may lead to you losing some players. But Dwarves don't have that problem. They're AV9 plus 6 skull. They can mark your Saurus all day long, keep you from moving anywhere, and then all the tackle, it just makes your Skink's life hell. So yeah, that's not too surprising. for first game of the season. And then Rob's Rotters is presumably a Nurgle team, 2-0 there for the season. Are there any other teams I wanted to look at? There's some that had some great names. Gudafellas, got to look at just because those names are fantastic. Looks like taking a little bit of a beating. Just a miss next game on one of the gutter runners, and okay, there's a skill that hasn't been applied yet, but not a lot of development. 5 SPP and a Storm Vermin is good. Got another gunner runner that's just one casualty or touchdown away from a score.
Yeah, if I were this coach, definitely do anything you can to get that Storm Vermin, that 1 SPP. Getting MVPs on them this early is the dream because they are really slow to skill up normally.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, your gutters are going to score points hand over fist. It's just going to happen whether you want it to or not. So you don't worry so much about them.
Yeah.
But if you can get first level for Mighty Blow or tackle or guard, depending on how you want to build them, especially Mighty Blow on the first one to start a killer build, huge difference in their SPP gain, because then you can focus blitz with them. You can get a decent regular amount. The way this team plays, as a Skaven coach myself, I could tell you, unless you're forcing them to score points, they're not going to score points. And you need them to, especially as you get later, because the rest of your team is going to fold like a cheap house of cards.
Yeah, I mean, without the Ogre, this is the only AV8 player on the team, and yeah, they gotta get in the way, give the hits, take the hits when need be, protect the rest of the team. I mean, besides the linemen that you just gotta throw in the middle to get ground up.
Yeah, line rats exist to take the hits. That's what their job is. Stand there, get hit by something bigger than you, and if you're doing your job well, you'll do that 3 or 4 times before being removed, and that's all we really expect.
Yep. Yeah. So they've got some extra cash. Do you think there's some 90K that hold down on that to as sort of a contingency fund to replace a gutter or a storm vermin? Do you think build out some bench here?
You could. Personally, I'd run a 12th line rat, run 12 players, especially with the thrower on the team, because really don't want to have to play the thrower on defense. Your ideal play here is get 12th player, sit the thrower, always kick if you get the option, so you can play defense with as many of your line rats to take as many of the hits as they can. Right. And then, when you're playing on offense and you have to play everybody, then your thrower can come on and hits great. Because unfortunately for me, the thrower is a line rat with sure hands. That's really all it is. You're not going to pass with him. I don't care about his pass skill. He's going to stand back. He's going to hand off to a gutter runner eventually. Maybe make a short throw, maybe. And that's about it. The rest of the time, he's just another line rat. And when you're out of line rats, you're going to have to throw somebody at somebody to block or mark him up. And it's going to be the thrower, and he's going to die. So I, like to try and keep him out of the way as much as possible. Because when they get a few levels on, they can be useful. And the early sure hands is nice, especially if you get someone like a Ward Answer that takes strip ball first, that sort of thing.
Right. I mean, as a defense against sure hands, but I mean it always seems weird, considering that the Skaven have these movement 9 AG4 players. It seems like it's not like a team like Norse where everybody has AG3, and their thrower doesn't even have sure hands, but say Orcs having the thrower with the sure hands because they don't have any AG4. Just picking up the ball. I mean, how necessary is it to have the thrower if you've got these super quick agility 4 players in your team?
It isn't. A lot of people will say don't run with one. I like one early because then I don't have to take short hands early on a gutter. I can wait on that skill until someone that if I get a ball retriever that I know for sure that's his role, then I'll put short hands on him later. If you don't take a thrower, I feel like one of your level 3 level ups probably needs to be sure hands just to protect against the issue of being stripped or what have you. But also for the free innate reroll on the pickup, because despite everything for the gutters being 2+, they will fail more 2+ rolls than any other team will even attempt.
Fair enough, yeah. So what else do we have in this? So we're looking at skilled head. There was one. This is the division that had the lizard men with the
Lickety splits the only lizards.
Tadpoles. There's one of the last
Oh
video.
yeah,
There
there
was
they are.
one of these had only had one team started only with one reroll. I guess it wasn't a Div 5. But it's done surprisingly well. Maybe. Sorry, let me just jump back to Div 6. It might have been Div 16. I just wanted to point this out. Yeah, Lizard Beasts in Div 6. It's missing a Saurus. I don't know if it's a death or retired, but has managed to win against Dark Elves. So it's a very strange starting build for Lizards. It's a team that definitely wants the rerolls. They want the Apothecary too, so I'm guessing they took the Apothecary ahead of the rerolls.
2 coaches assistants, 1 fan factor. It's interesting, and a cheerleader.
Yeah, it's not what most people consider ideal, but they seem to have been doing all right so far. So, good for them. I mean, obviously not so much against the dwarves, but even with 3 rerolls and the APO and a full team, dwarves are the bane of lizardmen. Or they can be. It's one of those things. Dwarves against lizardmen, either you'll just end up in a quagmire, and dwarves love a quagmire, and you'll just get stuck in the middle of the pitch, or you're just going to run all the way around them, and it's going to be.
Let's be honest. Dwarves as an early matchup is no fun for anybody else.
Yeah, no, they're not good for anybody. But I think lizardmen in particular, who the Thors aren't going anywhere if they're marked, but at least can beat down whoever marks them. The dwarves have the advantage there of not being able to really. It's very hard for them to remove them from the pitch if they mark you, and then the only ball handlers that the lizardmen have are starting lizardmen as 4 skinks, who really rely on that dodge skill, and of not being hit by a lot of tackle. So, yeah. I mean, I guess that's true of Skaven as well. But at least they can, even the players without dodge can at least try to make a 2+, a 3+.
Yeah, and the upside too being that it's easier to keep 4 gutter runners well out of the range of most of the dwarves with 9 movement.
Yeah, well, I mean, 8's not. It's no, they're not exactly, skinks aren't exactly slow either. But your other players can more likely sort of, if they're not, they can sort of, if you need them to in a pinch, make a 3+ dodge away from a dwarf, whereas a Saurus would need a 5+ dodge. So mobility becomes an issue there. Anyway, so let's move on to Div 4. Div 4, we have 2 undefeated teams. One of these is not surprising. Gloom and Zoom is a ridiculous, terrifying team. I don't know if you've seen this. This is the team started the season with 2 strengths for werewolves, one of whom also has Mighty Blow.
Yuck.
That's just gross.
Yuck. No, bad.
Yeah, and I was looking at this earlier and being very disappointed that so far in the season they haven't killed anyone. But then I looked, their most recent match against Cold-Blooded Punching. If you take a look at Cold-Blooded Punching, see if I can find them. Their next match is not going to be very. You got 2 missed next game skinks. Or, sorry, not skinks. 2 missed next game Thors for the next match. So that claw and that mighty blow is definitely doing some work. Even if it's not actually slaughtering people yet. So yeah, that's terrifying. And I imagine that the rest of the division is probably not looking forward to their matches against this team. The other undefeated team so far, Black and White, Undead team. Oops. Black and White. Pretty standard Undead build. Blodge on a white is makes that guy a little harder to take down. You know, but yeah, it's been up so far against 10C Titans and Warp Riders. Warp Riders are, let's see, Warp Riders are a human team. But 10C Titans is the team that I've had my eye on. I don't know if you've seen Raven Poe's build here, but he went crazy person build for Nurgle. He went for the Beast, he went for all 4 Nurgle Warriors, and he went for 4 Pestigores, 2 Rotters, and 0 rerolls. Which is just balls to the wall, all or nothing Blood Bowl. The way
I mean,
Nuffle
I guess it means you increase the chance of getting an MVP on a player you actually wanted on.
Yeah, and it's
that being said, 2 Rotters appear to have gotten MVPs.
Oh God, yeah, it looks like that's the case. But I did watch the replay from week 1, and he actually tied 2-2 against a Skaven team. Extremely tense game, extremely entertaining to watch. I may go back and watch this game against 10C Titans. But anytime you've got a team that's just this, like I said, balls to the wall, all or nothing, we're going to fill all the positionals we can and take 0 rerolls. This is definitely a team to watch. It's going to be entertaining this season. It's going to be terrifying next season. By the time he gets some rerolls, he's actually, by the next match, he can pick up a 1 reroll to get a little bit more reliability. He's already got Mighty Blow on one of the Pestigores. One of the Warriors is just 1 casualty away from scaling up. Those 2 Rotter MVPs, not the best thing in the world, but yeah, this is going to be a fun. This is just fun. I gotta respect anyone who's just going to go, fuck it, no rerolls. Let's just see what happens. Not that his play style in that first game, there was very obviously when you got 0 rerolls, you got to play a very conservative, very careful sort of game, and that's definitely what I saw when I watched that replay. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what becomes of this team as the season develops. And what else we got? Oh yeah, also in this division is our almighty ruler and sovereign Gamba. Has got his human team running here, so we may as well take a look. He is going clearly for a beat the crap out of the other team build. Gambas gets 3 blitzers to skill up, Mighty Blow, Mighty Blow, Mighty Blow tackle. And the 1 lineman has got Dirty Player. And then plus leader and block on a thrower. Bunch of money in the bank. So I don't know if he's gonna fill this out with some catchers. Just get some linemen for some bench to do some more fouling. But yeah, clearly in the spirit of the REL, just turn the place into a bloodbath.
Not a bad call, given his next couple of opponents. He's got dwarfs up next, and then the Doom Strength 4 werewolves after that.
Yeah. So yeah, let's take a look at who's up next. We're good. So there's still 1 match that hasn't been played from week 2, and 1 that for some reason hasn't been, confirmed. But next week, Black and White versus Her Majesty's Brood. Her Majesty's Brood is another Nurgle team to look out for. Pretty standard, I think. But guard on a Rotter, block on a Pestigore, mystery skill that has yet to be applied on a Nurgle Warrior.
Roll your skills, people. It gives us actually something to talk about.
That's true, and I'm feeling that pain now that I'm on the other side of it, trying to talk about this stuff. But I'm one of those assholes who doesn't roll it until the last minute, just to keep people in suspense.
It's okay. We'll just stick metal on them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's gonna happen. And trust me, you don't want that. You don't.
No. And I never heard the end of it last couple of seasons. But yeah, so that should be an interesting match. Who was the other top of the? Oh yeah, Gloom and Zoom next week is up against Rats. R-A-T Rat. How are they looking for that match?
Down a player. Only one.
Only
Oh,
one
this is the
gutter.
only one gutter runner build that I've seen this guy in Discord talking about it. It's different.
Yeah, and only two. What did the starting money go into? Only two rerolls and one gutter.
Roger's an expensive piece.
Did he start with a lot more line rats? Let's see, deaths. He's got a death, one death sustained. Bunch of casualties, so maybe some folks have been fired. Although, I imagine. I mean, if he's keeping around the AB6, I don't know who else he would. What sort of casualty he would fire. So, oh, and that AB6 looks like he got the MVP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely interesting. I wouldn't have said this build has ever been recommended by anybody anywhere, which means it's interesting to me.
Yeah, and that's
how you can run one gutter and be successful. I'm curious. I'm legitimately curious now. I want to see if he does well.
Yeah, and the one advantage, of course, going up against Gloom and Zoom, of course, is that the Claw's not going to do much when most of your team is AV7. Although against the Roger and the Storm Vermin, that might be.
Yeah, it's the same as Mighty Blow against the Vermin. It's actually a little bit less effective than just straight Mighty Blow because it's armor roll only. So that's not a big deal. The Roger.
Well, one of those werewolves has got Mighty Blow as well as Claw and Mighty Blow as well as the Strength 4. So
yeah, it'll be the key to that game is going to be minimizing the amount of damage that they manage to do.
Yeah,
I feel.
Yep. And where else we got here? Yep. So yeah, still a couple games to play this week. Should be some interesting matches next week. I think we'll leave it here. I don't want this video to get too long. You got anything else? Any picks? Any matches you're looking forward to? Any more commentary before we run into the in memoriam for week 2 video to wrap this up?
In the lower divs, a lot of high elf teams doing well off the bat, which is not something you normally expect. They tend to not have a whole lot going for them early with their complete lack of skills compared to even other elf teams. So it's a little surprising to see. We had a 2-0-1 in one of the lower divisions and another one that was, I think, 5th in his. So that's interesting to me. A couple of interesting team builds. Curious to see if they do well.
Yeah. Got a couple of lizards who were missing. I think one was missing a Croxagore. And wait, was that in this division? There was one that actually has no Croxagore and yet managed to win their match this week 3-0 when I was looking at it. Must not have been. Sorry, let me see if I can find where that was. Point out that looked pretty impressive. Yeah, Lickety Split Lizards at Div 5. No Croxagore. I don't know if they dead Croxagore or a weird starting, decided to start with extra reroll or something. Last match was 3-0 against the Scholarly Gentleman, which was a Chaos team. So that's for all these weird builds that people are doing, they seem to be making them work. So yeah, definitely gotta keep an eye on these divisions. Still anyone's season. Not couple of crazy stat freak teams, but generally speaking, these are all sort of early in their development. So I'm very curious to see what's gonna come in a couple of games and how these teams are gonna shape out.
Yeah, looks like there's a lot of interesting stuff going on.
Yeah,
and I hope you guys do well, and I hope they continue to do well.
Yeah. So for everyone in Divs 4 through 6, best of luck with the rest of the season, and I'm gonna sign out. Before we go, take a little moment to just remember everyone who gave their all on the pitch in week 2. Roll that clip. And we're back. That was touching moments, especially that Dead White getting MVP. It's always rough. But yeah, that's it for the week 1 and 2 recap. I want to thank my guest co-host NinjaPirateAssassin. Thank you very much for joining me.
Absolutely, anytime. Glad to be here. Remember, everybody, roll your skills, have fun.
Yeah. Have a good one, and see you on the pitch.